One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads, feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days. We're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. Archbishop, we got Mike Ball, and we got the stranger, Aaron Olinger, back with us again. What's up, everybody? Glad y'all were able to stop by tonight. We got another pretty good show for you. Hope you all tune in. Before we get started, everybody hit that like button so we can get this out on the proper algorithm and get this set up. So today we're gonna past couple of weeks we've been talking about what's been going on in Iran, the actual war or confrontation, whatever you want to call it. Some people say it's war, some people say it's a confrontation.
Others say it's an operation.
Right. You can put it where you put it, but we're gonna talk about that, but we're also gonna keep on the actual focus of this because we want to talk about what's going on the other side of this. So as of right now, we know gas prices is creeping, electric bills is climbing, food costs is not really making a whole lot of sense anymore. And most people think that it's just inflation. But what if it's not? What if it's what we're watching right now is the beginning of a global energy squeeze? because here's the truth that they're not telling you loud enough, that when energy gets disrupted, everything gets disrupted. Transportation, food supply, jobs, even political stability. And right now, there's a war hitting that most of us or everybody knows about, but most critical energy choke points on Earth is actually getting squeezed right now. At the exact same time, global demand is at its all-time high. That's not a coincidence. That's pressure. And tonight we're going to break down what caused this sudden energy crisis and how it's already affecting people around the world. What happens next, if it continues, and most importantly, what you can do to stay ahead of this. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. So the core angle to this is it's not just high prices. It's about a fast-moving global energy shock driven by war, choke points, and the system that was already stretched by rising electricity demand anyway. What's happening right now is that this war involving Iran is disrupting flows throughout the Strait of Hormuz. That's a route that normally carries roughly 20% of the global LNG, which is natural gas, and about 25 to 30% of global oil, which the IMF said that it's produced the largest oil market disruption on record history that we know of. Europe has already been warned to prepare for prolonged disruptions, and a lot of us have seen a lot of things on the news where they were talking about energy shortages and cutting off power at certain times and possible lockdowns again, and there's a bunch of different stuff that they've been talking about. Now, the European gas prices have jumped more than 70% since this conflict began back in February. And at the same time, this hit was, how can you put it? This was a power demand that had already been climbing before this even started. So the IEA says that global electricity demand grew 3% in 25 and 4.4% in 24. And experts saying that it's going to average roughly 4.5 to 5% from 2026 to 2030. Now, that's all driven based on what's going on right now. You got the EVs, you got air conditioning, you got these massive data centers that they're popping up all over the place. So the crisis isn't just about a supply part getting hit. It's also about the demand of these things that's also on the verge of being ran out.
Right. It's multi-layered. Right.
Right. So it's gonna raise the price on everything right now. But we're gonna talk first about what's going on in Iran right now. So we'll let Aaron start that off, and then we'll kind of bounce around and we'll try to cover as much stuff as we can cover tonight. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. Well, what I want to do. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
I was saying, welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you. For those that don't know, I'm in school right now. I'm trying to get myself licensed as a what they call it, disaster preparedness person. And I think that's going to, having that certificate to hang on the wall is going to give me more credibility when I try to explain things to people over me just saying and people saying, oh, that's just your opinion, even though I've trained in this all my life. But what makes Iran important right now is something that is called the Belt and Road Initiative. It's the backbone of trade in that area that they recently started, that starts off in Europe and works its all the way down through Iran and into China. And Iran sits at a key point. I mean, and I'll give you an analogy. In my area, I have Highway 70 that runs east and west. I have Highway 75 that runs north and south. Even though there's other highways in my area, those two hubs brings the majority of goods and services to my area. Iran sits on a vital part for energy. I mean, they have their underbelly extends to the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, which the majority of energy flows down those two areas. Then north of them, they border the Russia. They border the Caucasus area, which is high in oil. They border any country that begins with "stan" at the last, like Tajikistan, Afghanistan, those things. And further beyond, you get into China and Southeast Asia. And that Belt and Road Initiative is going to be like a trade route. Back in the old days, they called it the Silk Road, but now they've redesigned it, and it's the Belt and Road Initiative. It's the backbone of trade. And 2021, as far as China goes, it brought $2.7 trillion to the Chinese economy. In 2024, it has brought $3.1 trillion. 50% of China's foreign trade is based upon that initiative and that thing staying open. If you take Iran out of the picture, that is like taking a chink out of your backbone. And with a chink missing out of your backbone, your body can't support itself. You just fall apart. And that Belt and Road Initiative requires Iran to be intact so that they can continue with this trade. And that could be a reason why they won't carpet bomb and take out Karg Island, because Karg Island is 90% of Iran's trade. You take that out, their money goes worthless overnight, because Iran's money is based upon their oil that they export. Russia's
they
money
control 90%. Well, I mean, 90% of their export deals.
True.
Right here.
Right there.
Karg Island.
That's the key. Russia's money is based upon oil. Venezuela's money is based upon oil. You take out oil trade, and their currency will go to zero almost overnight. So, I mean, to me, we're fighting a war, a currency war, an economic war, and now a kinetic war against the BRIC alliance. And Iran is a key factor in that alliance. But let me stop right there.
So what do you think about this, Mike?
Well, kind of something that we discussed last week, AB, is we were discussing a little bit about the trade routes, right? And we were discussing about how, well, I'll bring it up right here, that we were worried about originally when and if the Houthi rebels are going to go ahead and get themselves involved in shutting down this strait, this bottleneck, which they have, they don't have necessarily like mines that they lay down here. They don't have that. I'm sure they probably do, but they don't use them. There's all these kind of situations are handled by drones now and stuff like that. But nonetheless, these are major choke points, and these are major trade routes. So anything going in and out of the Persian Gulf, this is where all of course, the oil that is coming out and then going to Europe, they usually hang a U right here, actually, and they go right up this Gulf or this strait as well, and they go up to Europe. Well, now the Houthis have gotten themselves involved, and they shut down this strait as well. This strait actually holds or transfers about 12% of all goods globally, not just oil and gas and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I did find it interesting that they kind of held off a little bit. You know, they held off for 4 weeks or whatever before they got themselves involved. So I just thought that was totally interesting, and it's going to be affecting, like, people are like, well, we only get 1% out of the 20% that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if we're only getting 1% of it. It goes up on a global scale, you know? So when gas prices go up, it's going up globally. It's not just, it's just our nation that's getting affected, right? So anyways.
Yeah, because that's more of, it's going up like that because the OPEC price is not really the fact that we only getting 1% of that. And then out of that 1%, if I'm not mistaken, they use that to basically cut the thick crude that's coming out of Venezuela. Am I correct by that, Aaron?
Yes, you are. The light sweet crude cuts that crude and makes it where it's more usable for different nations around the world.
Mm-hmm. So do you think this is more of a temporary spike in these prices, or do you think this is something bigger?
Are you asking that in general?
Either one.
uh,
Either one of
okay,
you.
I would say it could be temporary, but then again, I kind of doubt it because greed is a motivator. I mean, these gas prices moved long before they should have moved. And the stock markets right now being heavily manipulated, especially the precious metal markets right now,
I was just about to say that.
because they're not responding to the proper fundamentals that are in place, which shows clear manipulation. It's like going to Vegas to play cards or roll dice, and the table's rigged. So right now, greed, and let me add this one part. I'm going to use the Federal Reserve. Right now, the next time the Federal Reserve starts to move interest rates up or down, they're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. If they lower interest rates, we're going to be looking at runaway inflation inside this country, which is going to mean higher prices regardless. If they raise interest rates, which is what they did during the Great Depression that caused the stock market to collapse, you could be looking at a collapse of our system as well as a depression. So either way they go, it's bad news. And people are going to have to be ready to tighten their belts. If these prices continue to go up, people are going to have to change the way they move. They're going to have to change how often they leave their home. Maybe you need to carpool, but I don't want to get too far into that right now. I'll stop and let you guys take it.
Yeah, just based on what you just said right there, that could also lead into stagflation as well.
Yes, it
And
can.
that's where the real danger kicks in at. When you have the high
Mhm.
prices and then the slower growth, that that equals stagflation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's one of the hardest um, economic environments to fix because everything moves in the wrong direction at one time.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what you don't want. But we're going to talk about how this is actually affecting people worldwide, not just here. Now, granted, we're all feeling it all in the pumps. We're feeling it at the grocery stores. We're seeing it in the electric bills and all of that stuff. But it's um, actually there's some countries that are having it way, way, way worse than what we got going on. So I'll give you a couple examples. So in Europe, um, higher gas and fuel prices already was a risk anyway because of the slower growth, and then they had higher inflation at the same time. And the EU often um, said it was like a short disruption but then the 2026, the growth is like 0.4%, which lifted that inflation up like a full point. Um, then you got over in Asia where their natural gas has surged 143% since this war began, pushing countries like Bangladesh and India and Pakistan into fuel switching, rationing, and just basically reducing everything that has to do with natural gas to be able to try to keep it as long as possible. You got the Philippines, and their government basically suspended power, and they're only running power like in different times. They do having like actual cutoff dates. I mean, not cutoff dates, cutoff times that they're doing throughout. So like every night at 9:30, they're cutting the power because they're running so low now to still be able to try to keep up with regular status quo, but they can't because of all of the shortages that you have in dealing with this oil, because oil is not the only thing that's being cut. You got natural gas, you got oil, you have helium, you got fertilizers, that's one of the big things here. That With a lot of the fertilizer and stuff that these farmers use here, they get from there.
I didn't know that.
So that's another hit that you got going on. So
That's super interesting.
right, so it's not just oil that's putting a damper on different things. There's multiple things that come out of that region, and it's all being cut down right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I want to add to that. And I want people to notice this. As you were saying, that different countries are starting to feel the hit. Australia, Philippines, Taiwan, Chile, all of Europe, India, China. I mean, lines are lining up. People are panic buying right now. What should be noticed here is that just-in-time system is starting to fail again. We saw it during COVID. We saw when the global economies, everybody was shutting down. We saw that shortages was created behind it. And again, we're back where we were. We didn't learn no lesson. Now, just in time is about to fail. As soon as the oil starts coming in slow, there's going to be rationing. There's going to be problems. But what needs to be noticed here is that the nations are failing their people. The United States has an oil reserve that would last so many months, where everybody else is talking about, well, we'll be out of oil in 12 to 18 weeks, which means power goes down, can't go to work, you can't do nothing. You just be sitting there at the house in the dark. And if you're counting on life support, how you going to run your life support machines if you don't have it? How's the hospitals going to operate if there's no oil or there's no electricity coming through the lines? If there's no power on, there's no water coming to your house. It takes power and oil to run your run those turbines that ships water to your house. Can't go to work. Even if you work in an office, the computers have to come on with no electricity. Can't do nothing. I mean, we're totally dependent upon this fuel system that we have in place. But the nations who saw this war coming, knew it was coming, been knowing it for months, what did they do to prepare? I mean, Trump told Europe yesterday, if you didn't want to help us when we asked for your help, now go over there and take it if you want it, or go escort some of them ships through there. Or you can buy it from us using American dollars, which puts the petrodollar agreement back into place with the Saudis. But the main thing needs to be noticed here is when your government fails you, then the only person you can count on is yourself. So what are you doing to get ahead on this? And I'll
Right.
stop there.
No, that's exactly right, Aaron. I mean, we can sit here and analyze the situation that's going around us, but we have no control in that, right?
Right.
We can only recognize and do exactly what we're doing here. But I think that you come back here on the show at a very perfect time, because that is the question, right? Because we're pointing out all these things, but what are we going to do, though, whether we like the situation or not? How do we handle that?
Mm-hmm. Are you asking me that question?
Yeah.
Or you...
I mean,
okay.
it's for the panel, but yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
absolutely.
How are we going to handle it? We got to see what it is and get out in front of it. Because what you want to do is you want to stock up on enough stuff and supplies and things that you can last until things get back to normal. I mean, I saw one of the comments, someone said that things always work themselves out. To a point that is true. But you got to last through the hard period, the tribulation period. You got to make it through that period of hard times. When I was under Reagan and I was laid off for 3 years, I had enough food and stuff stocked back that when money got tight, I didn't have to decide whether I'm going to buy food this week, or am I going to buy gas, or am I going to pay a bill. I
Right.
had plenty of food put back. I had gasoline stored. I was sitting pretty good. I could direct my resources specifically where they needed to go. And I weathered the storm where the majority of my friends lost their houses, cars, apartments. Uh, it was amazing to see what went down. But even though I was trying to tell some of them which way to go, and they was always laughing at me, in the end, I felt vindicated because I was still standing and I didn't lose nothing. But I'll stop there for right now.
You know, there's something very interesting that Scott just said. People will sell their houses for pennies when the money reset occurs. And I got to agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead. Go
Bishop.
ahead.
I was going to say, when I was young, around 5 years old, the average cost of a house in the United States was $6,000. When I was a teenager, the average house was between 18 to $40,000. And if you lived in a 35 to $40,000 home, you were living good.
Bruh.
Now, man, it's 100,000 or higher, and you're getting hardly nothing. You know that American dream is slipping away, and people don't realize it. Inflation is taking it away. But I'll stop there.
Right now, when in some states, $100,000 ain't gonna get you a nice crack house.
Yeah,
But
yeah. In the super hood, and that there's no windows, no roof. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that we got right now, and you just brought it up, Aaron, when you was talking about um, people waiting for it to fix itself,
Mhm.
and um, and I think that's one of the biggest things, because this is one of the things that we tend to do, because, like we said in numerous shows, nothing really major like that has ever happened here that would put people um, to the point that they feel that they have to stock up and prepare and all this other stuff. Now, now more than ever, you watching on TV, on social media, all kind of stuff. They're steady pushing all this stuff now, where they wasn't pushing it when we first started talking about this. You may have seen a little ad here and there, but now, like, they're really pushing it to get extra food, to buy generators and solar generators and water purifiers and all kind of stuff that they're putting out now that they wasn't doing when we first actually started talking about this. And like back, let's say back, I think about 8 months to a year ago, um, it's when we first started talking about this stuff, and about there was going to come this time where we had this energy shortage and all this stuff was coming about. And then now they're talking about, um, like I said, they shutting off power. Now they talking about possible lockdowns and license plate, where they're going through, and if you got certain numbers on your license plate that you can drive on certain days to conserve on gas and all this other stuff. And this is stuff that we had talked about before. And I do think that with what's going on over there, it's causing damage. I do think that, but I also think that there's more to it. I'm thinking that this is also being used to prolong, well, not to prolong, but to bring on the agenda that they were trying to do from the beginning. We was talking about the 2030 agenda,
Mhm.
to where everybody owned nothing and be happy,
Mhm.
where nobody owned cars and everything was structured. And me personally, I think, yes, is what's going on in the Middle East causing problems, yes. But I also think that they're gonna use this to be able to bring in more oversight, um, more government structured um, policies, ideas, whatever, that's going to do this great reset that they've been talking about for a while now. And I think that's what a
Right.
lot of this is actually going to. Um,
This kind of reset where it goes to this, that kind of reset too, which is even
mhm.
scarier. It's not even like a different paper currency. It's going to be this. And that's even way more scarier.
Right,
If you don't hold it, you don't own it, man.
Right.
Sorry.
right. So we're going. So I had a thing that I had put out here, and it was talking about how bad could it actually get, and I broke it down into levels, and then based on those, I broke it down into four actual levels, and those four levels, as you going through it, you'll see how it kind of progresses as it goes down. But I'm gonna go through a couple of them. So level one is the mild one, and that's most likely a short term thing, like we were talking about before, like this spike. And And that's when you have higher gas prices, higher electricity bills, and the groceries continue to creep up. Um, this is actually happening, but people feel it, but life goes on. They paying a little extra for the gas or whatever. They paying a little extra for the food. All right, whatever. Level 2 is the moderate stage. And this stage is very possible if this continues to drag out. So you're going to start having noticeably expensive fuel. Utility bills actually hitting your pocket hard, where it's jumping, from 1 month to the next is almost doubled. You have localized shortages and outages. And then the businesses itself started rising prices, or they start cutting back. And that's where, during that stage, that's when people start noticing, like, okay, hold on, something ain't right here. Maybe it is a little something going on. Maybe I do need to start paying attention a little more. Level 3 is your severe, and that's only if this escalation continues. So you have rolling blackouts in certain regions. Fuel access becomes inconsistent in some places. You start having diesel shortages, which puts the truck drivers on the side of the road because they can't run. Gas stations go short. People start at that point, they start running around trying to get all the gas they can get, kind of like when a hurricane comes down here to Florida. Everybody try to pack up and get all the gas you can get. Travel and your logistics gets tighter. And the government kind of steps in with restrictions and a little bit more privatization. Now that particular stage is uncomfortable for people, but still, to some, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Then you have level 4, which is the extreme. And that's where you have a full global supply disruption, long-term outages, weaker regions, rationing of multiple countries, and basically a total economic shutdown. Now, of course, we're not even near that yet, but those are the levels that this can go to if it continues to do what it's doing now. You know what I mean? This turned out to be, okay, this was going to take, first it said it was going to take 8 days, then it went to 12 days. Now we're going on, month
6
2.
weeks, right? And exactly.
Right.
Now, honestly, I'm to the point where with this whole war, if he can wrap this up before his term ends, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm just saying. I really do hope on a realistic level. I know I'm just joking, but I really do hope that this can be something that we can get done like yesterday. I hope that we can just get away from this whole thing. But here's the problem. America has pride issues as well. We can't do something and be like, if we can't 100% say we won, dude, it's up in the air. That's the problem with these kind of things. Mm-hmm. We may not lose this war, but we will lose politically.
Well, let me add to that and say, Iran has had almost 30 years to study us militarily. They watched an insurgency war fought in Vietnam and how third-rate peasant army was able to almost defeat us there. And after 10 years, we had to leave. We lost our taste for war. They saw that. They saw that anytime that third-rate army tried to fight a pitched battle with us, we wiped them out. But as long as they kept doing guerrilla insurgency, they could pick their time to attack and disappear. And by the time our heavy material showed up to tear them up, there was nothing to target or hit.
Exactly. Yep.
They watched us in Iraq. We tore the Iraqi army up in less than 2 weeks. But the insurgency war that happened after that.
Afterwards, right. Bush even came out and said, we've won.
Right.
We won. Yeah, I don't think so.
So they had a chance to see how that worked. Then they watched us in Afghanistan and how the Afghans, as technically improficient, they don't even have electricity. fought us to the end. But Afghanistan's always fought everybody and drove them out of their country from Alexander the Great up till now. If you study their history, no one wins long term in Afghanistan. But Iran had a chance to watch all this and then ask themselves, what if it happens here? And then looking at that, they were able to take what worked and add it to their position of how they will fight us. And then they was able to throw out the wouldn't. And to throw out means no pitched battles against the U.S. war machine. It's got to be insurgency. So they went underground, just like the tunnels of Tu Chi in Vietnam. The Afghans living in them caves and going underground. We couldn't touch them. Our
No.
military might was for naught. So they learned from this.
Well, there's a lot of regions in Iran, and they think that, America people think that this is just a landscape of open desert or something. There's a lot of one-way roads everywhere you go in Iran. You know what I mean? Where there's choke points going through neighborhoods. And listen, man, I've been to the favelas in Brazil, watching the guys at the top of their buildings with AR-15s, AKs. Some of them had RPGs and shit. These guys are crazy. But that's what I'm talking about, is you go into a landscape. What makes you think you're going to beat them on their own turf? Kind of like Vietnam, like what you just said. Same thing. We went in there thinking, oh, we're going to come in there and wreck their shit. No, we got taught pretty quick on that whole thing that that's not how that's going to go. And that's why I've been against boots on the ground for any underground any operation in Iran for this whole thing. I think this is nothing but a liability. At this point, we're not even fighting this war like as if they were a direct threat to us. They were a direct threat to Israel. And so now I consider this Israel's war. Why are we getting involved where we're going to put our boots on the ground? How about the IDF puts their boots on the ground?
They're not going to.
Of
Nor
course
have
not.
they ever.
Of course
Nor
not.
have they ever.
No, because they know the game. They know the game, and they're playing that. Anyways.
Well, they don't have the numbers, to be honest with you. Right now, they've invaded Lebanon, and they're fighting Hezbollah. Last time they fought Hezbollah went underground on them and fought Israel to a standstill. They had to come out with a truce and a nervous peace treaty because they couldn't defeat them. There was no pitched battles to fight. Plus, they just don't have the numbers to fight against Iran right now. They really don't.
See, but they need to stop talking shit then.
Yeah, but see, they Iran was talking shit to us before we went in there. We're taking them apart brick by brick right now, in spite of what the liberal media keeps saying. It's going to take. It took them 10 years the last time their Navy fought our Navy to rebuild it up to where it is now. Same way with the Air Force. It took them over 10 years. We're doing extreme damage to them right now, and this is part of us taking apart the BRIC alliance. This goes beyond Iran. China, as you guys know, took a cheap shot at us on the silver market back in January to try to take our currency down, and they created a massive liquidity crisis with our banks. And the Federal Reserve had to step in with over $78 billion to bail our banks out, because we could have went under in January. And we're still kind of in the liquidity crisis now. We had a liquidity crisis back in 2009, 2011. We had one in year 2000 when the government shut everything down inside the country. Now we're back in one because China took a cheap shot at us. So come back at China, we took out Venezuela. So China does not have access to that oil. We're taking out Iran, and that's almost 80 to 90% of the oil that China needs to run that massive economy they got so they can be the world supplier, let alone their war machine. Without oil, they can't invade Taiwan. This goes bigger. We're putting China in a hurt locker, even though Asia's going to go with them. We're putting Russia into a hurt locker behind this, and those are the two major players inside the BRIC alliance. There's going to be pain on our side. Under Reagan, the stagflation you talked about, Bishop, was massive. I was out of work for 3 years, but we brought down the Iron Curtain. Poland was freed, Lithuania was freed, all those satellite nations that Russia controlled, including East Germany, was freed. The wall came down, but there was pain on our side. We almost bankrupted ourselves, bankrupting them. We're fighting against the BRIC alliance here. So this goes beyond our just Iran. China, Russia, and all of them needs Iran to be in position and to be in a strong position financially for that Belt and Road Initiative. You take that chink out, you just crushed the productive capacity of the Chinese, let alone the Russians. But I'll stop there.
But you know what, though? I think with the U.S. as a whole, we need to be a lot more strategic about what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just based off what you just said, so you're dealing with the BRIC alliance, you're dealing with China and Russia being the two main ones out of there. Okay. Now, for the most part, China's sitting back, letting everything play out how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
They ain't doing nothing. Now, they may be giving a little bit of intel out here and there, but they ain't doing nothing. You got Russia on this end that they know for a fact is giving out intel
Mm-hmm.
that's telling where these bases and these hangars and stuff are. They're giving them exact information as to where they were at. They just did a report the other day where the president of Ukraine has sent information saying, listen, this is what they're getting ready to hit. They get ready to hit you. And they did nothing. And they got hit.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be a little bit more strategic about this. Then you turn around and you take the sanctions off of Russia to where they're making this money. Now, granted, Ukraine turned around and hit some of their oil pipelines and all that. So they still trying to, Ukraine is still putting a dent in it over there to keep them. I mean, like, they still making money, but they could be making a whole lot more if Ukraine wouldn't have been hitting these pipelines. But you just turned around and they shipped all that oil over to Cuba. Now, Trump had put an executive order out saying that no one was to give any aid to Cuba. And if they did, their countries was going to get heavy sanctions for doing it.
And we just gave them aid.
But this Russian ship comes right on up there, and then you see Trump on there talking about, if you want to give them some oil, go ahead and give it to them. They're suffering over there. Man, bullshit. You just pussied out on that. So all that you said that you were gonna do, you backtracked because it was him. You know what I mean? Which makes no sense. So when India tried to send stuff over there, you sent them back. When France tried to send some stuff over, you sent them back. But Russia bring one in here. Now, you didn't even check the ship to even see what they actually had on that ship, because it may not have just been oil in that ship. They ain't even check it. They just let them go on through. You know what I mean? So that's where you have, if the rules apply, then the rules apply to everybody. But it's also been seen in the past year that there's a lot of these deadlines and wolf tickets that have been put out there ends up getting called back when these other countries call them bluff.
There's always going to be favoritism. You're
right.
always going to have that.
So we got this, it's been done several times. It was done dealing with Canada and Mexico, where they kept backing stuff off. We're going to do this. Then you put a tariff over in China, then you pull it back, then you put another one back on top, and you keep going back and forth. And you're selling these damn wolf tickets, but you keep pulling it back once the deadlines come. You know what I mean? They're calling you bluff on a lot of this stuff. Now, we over here fighting this war that Israel brought upon themselves. Like I was saying before, if you can't back up what it is that you're saying, stop talking shit. So you got the U.S. over there, and they getting ready to put boots on the ground. So we're going to have men and women that's going to perish for a war that we had nothing to do with. I mean, Israel ain't sending none of their troops over there. They don't have enough, like you just said. But we're going to send ours over there, and they're going to perish. You know what I mean? For instance, that E-3 radar plane that they just blew up, $300 million for that plane. And that plane had literally just landed It had just landed. The pilots got off the plane and they went to put gas in it, and here come a drone, boom, blew it up. Like, how the hell did they even know that plane was even there? It had just literally landed. $300 million gone. And what did they use? A $10,000 drone with some explosives on it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, we may be hitting them hard on several fronts over in Iran, but they using these cheap drones that's busting up radar systems and stuff that cost hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. You know what I mean? Off of something cheap that they can just put a explosive device on and just lure it right on into it.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So we may be banging them over there, but we're taking a huge loss financially just on the systems and the planes and stuff that we're losing. I mean, we're losing F-35s that they said couldn't be tracked, but they're getting hit.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're losing. The U.S. itself is taking a hit. You know what I mean? This may be Israel's thing, but the U.S. is going to be the one paying the price for it.
But like I said, when me and you talked before, if we want to win the war, and we're going to fight as though it is a war, we would have to take out their power grid and take out their water. Find out, because Iran is mostly desert, like Mike said. They don't have a lot of above ground water. Most of it's underground aquifers. Look at some geological survey maps, find out where the water comes closest to the surface, go in there with those deep penetrator bombs, put them on some B2s, and put that cordite down into that water, poison all the damn water. They got water towers, use your fighter bombers to drop them on the ground. Destroy their desalination plants. Human body can only go 3 days without water, and then your organs start to shut down. Take out the power grid where they cannot repair or fix their water pump situation. Without air conditioning, without water, 100 to 140 degrees in the summertime, that place becomes a no man's land. But I understand it would create, with their 90-something million population, it would create a massive humanitarian crisis.
Yes.
I mean, everybody will be rushing the borders to try to get water. The very nations that Iran is shooting at. And you got to hope that those people feel benevolent enough to give water and aid to your people. If you want to win, you take out the power grid and you poison all the water, and Iran becomes a no man's land. But if this is a political game and that Belt and Road Initiative is there and you want a hand at the table, then they got to make peace terms with you to where you got a hand, you get a percentage of the cut, you get something to let that oil go through and let everything go back to normal. And with Saudi Arabia telling us to do more damage, to destroy them more. I mean, when Israel hit the LNG plant in Iran yesterday, Iran's counter to Israel hitting their LNG was to hit the LNG thing in Qatar. I mean, the insanity. To me, it's ridiculous, but you're playing into Trump's hand, because now with LNG going to be short, with gas being short, the United States is about the #2 supplier of oil to the world underneath Saudi Arabia. We're the only game in town. You got to buy from us, and you're going to have to do it with the petrodollar.
That's right.
And everybody else is in flames. So
real quick, I wanted to say
go ahead. I'm
something,
sorry.
AB.
Yeah.
Was when you said something about that $300 million plane getting messed up by a $20,000 drone or whatever the cost is, right? Something that I have, and I voiced this opinion on my show a few days ago, but it was in regards to that whole Saudi Arabia tarmac where we lost all these planes. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of small because it's off of Instagram. It's the only one that I could find a side-by-side with. But anyways, something that I have a real issue about is that we are so arrogant sometimes that we never learn from our mistakes or any of this shit. And this is a big thing that I have for the military. I mean, for the Pentagon. Listen, stop leaving are fucking assets on the tarmac. Why are you just letting them sit there? They're not moving targets. Moving targets are harder to hit. These aren't moving. They're just sitting on the tarmac. Meanwhile, they send in drones. They send in a couple of hypersonic, or not even hypersonics, ballistics, and they just fuck them up. We're talking so much money that is sitting right there on the tarmac over there in Saudi Arabia. It's like, and people go, well, these planes are so big. Where do you hide them? Well, not on the fucking tarmac. You know what I mean? I don't care if you need to make a hangar or make something where it's just a tent off on the side crate. You want them guessing. Don't just leave that shit out in the open where a drone can come by and in 24 hours have that shit struck. Not even 8 hours.
That's underestimating your enemy right there. That's a clear
Totally.
example.
Well, you would think though that, I agree with you that it shouldn't have been sitting out that way.
Just
but
arrogantly.
Just like I said, with that
like
E3,
our shit don't stink.
like with that E3, it had literally just landed. By the time the pilots got off the plane and they go to fill the plane up, here they come, boom, hit it. You know what I mean? So they knew it was coming there. You know what I mean? So you getting intel from other places. You know what I mean? And that's the part that I was getting at earlier. You know who it is that's giving it to them. So why are you kissing their ass over here and dropping sanctions and all this other shit when you know that they're plotting against you? That makes no sense. You know what I mean? Now, if we would have actually stayed out of this, would we be having a gas crisis right now? No. Because was they fucking with us? No. You know what I mean? So all of this stuff that's going on, yes, it's a bad situation. Yes, it's going to get worse. I mean, they just put out today where they're going to talking about if being the fact that we keep assassinating different leaders over there, that they're going to start going after businesses that's here that's with the U.S. like Microsoft, Apple, Google, Tesla, all these different places that's over there, that they're going to start hitting them. You know what I mean? Because they know those are like critical pillars here in the U.S. So they're going to hit them. I mean, this is going to be some back and forth. This isn't going to stop in the next week or two. This is going to be something that's going to be prolonged. And the longer that this goes, the worse it's going to get. Now, before we go into what it is that we can all do, there's one big thing that we're dealing with here that's dealing with this power. And we was talking about the power grid, and we was talking about a couple shows ago, we was talking about the power grid again, and about the way that the power grid is actually set up is actually old. It's back, 60s, 70s. Now they have been actually going through
and adding things
and adding stuff on,
but the bones,
you know what I mean?
the
whole
bones,
thing ain't there.
But the bones is from the 60s,
Right.
That's the problem. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, then you turn around and you add these data centers, and these data centers uses huge amounts of electricity. Now, not only do they use huge amounts of electricity, they use billions and millions of gallons of water. Now, one of the shows that we had before, we was talking about that water is going to be your next gold, because water is going to be at a certain, because they're going to be using so much of this water. Think about it, millions and millions of gallons for these data centers. Okay, that's some facilities actually consume more power than
they produce
small and medium cities.
Right. Yeah,
in just
exactly.
one data center. And plus they're using all this water to cool all those processors and servers and all that, to keep all that
Look
stuff
at Silicon
cool.
Valley. Look how much they pull,
Right.
on amperage and all that.
They have a couple of them over in Nevada. I seen a thing on the other day, and they've used so much water from Lake Mead that it actually has, when you go to Lake Mead, you can see the water line going across the area like a ring on a bathtub from where the water used to be to where it is now. You know what I mean? Now, not only are they using water from there, but they also using the water from these aquifers, this underground water. So when you start using all that water up, and you think about it, every day you're using millions of gallons of water. You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of these companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, Nestle, Bill Gates, they buying all this farmland.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not buying the farmland because they actually want the land. They want the water that's underneath it.
Right. That's right.
So once you have your regular water that's out that you can't drink because it's poisoned, or they done sucked it dry, or you having all these weather anomalies going on now where a lot of these places are dry. They're totally dry, extremely dry. You know, what else do you have? You got to buy water.
It's not just water, though. It is mainly, yes, that's one of them, but critical minerals, all sorts of stuff underneath where they control, right? So, I mean, we've watched that with so many different, I mean, Iran's being actually one of them on the oil front, right? Real quick, I just want to thank, we got Nick coming in with the $5, man. I very much appreciate you supporting the show and showing a little support, man. And you didn't even send a message with it. That's like actually one of my favorite things, when someone sends money and they don't have to say something about it. I like that. I respect it. Thank you, Nick.
You know, I was talking to someone the other day, and they was like, well, by the time this happens, we're gonna end up buying water, which should be free, but we're gonna be buying water, and but we're gonna have to buy air. And
yeah,
then
no kidding.
Well, they actually said the only thing that we have left would be air, and I was like, no, that's not really true either.
We already sell air. We already sell air.
Really
go fill up your tire at the gas station. It costs you a couple bucks. That's some air.
I'm talking about actually breathable air. You know,
I know. I'm just being
they're
hyperbolic.
Talking about there's so much pollutants up in the air now, and then you got Bill Gates doing this whatever he call himself, trying to dim the sun, and they putting these planes spraying this stuff out where it's making, like, I seen some videos of it the other day, and it's like a straight cloud, for as far as you can see, flat, that's basically blocking the sun to keep. I mean, why do people keep doing the shit like this? But you desperately polluting the air. You know what I mean? To eventually that, you're gonna end up having to buy air too. You know what I mean? So
by purity.
Right. There's so much stuff that's going on here. You know what I mean? Even with the bottled water, they was talking about is plastics, and they talking about a lot of the stuff that they're spraying out in the atmosphere has nanoparticles in it and all this.
Shit, look at how India lives. I mean, look at their air pollution, you know?
There's so much stuff that's going on right now. But like I said, we can talk about that stuff for days. And we'll jump down that rabbit hole and we'll never get out of it. But what we do need to talk about is what people need to do right now. Because with the energy shortages that's going on right now, there's gonna come a time where, like I said, this gas is gonna get outrageous, the electricity is gonna get outrageous. We're gonna start having these blackouts are coming primarily from these data centers sucking up so much power in an old power grid. So you're gonna have outages. There's gonna be some unrest here, and it's gonna happen here fairly soon. So I'm gonna ask you first, Aaron, because I know you like the expert when it comes to that. What is it that people need to do right now, based off of what you see, just like what we see? What's the best things for them to do right now?
Well, seeing that just in time is going to fail, and 9 times out of 10, people are going to be sitting back waiting on the government to come to the rescue, and help isn't going to come, especially if it's nationwide. What you need to take in consideration is the worst case scenario, and that is oil gets so short that, or terrorism would start up over here and the power grid would be taken out. If the grid goes down, no water coming to your house, you can't bathe, you can't wash clothes, you don't have water to drink. I mean, if you want to test it out, do what I did. Just one Saturday, just get up, get a clipboard in your hand, a bunch of paper, go to your circuit breaker box and click your breakers off. And then spend the rest of the day making notes on what you should be buying. Should you buy a generator? Should it be a fuel generator? Should it be solar? What would you use for money? Should you be buying precious metals and lead? I hope you understand what I mean by lead. Should you be stocking up on food and water? I mean, as you told me the other day, Patriots has a nice system to where you can get 5 months worth of food for the price of three, and they're willing to take financing on it. EcoFlow, I strongly recommend their solar generators. You can get a Delta 2 model. You can finance it over anywhere from 4 payments to 18 payments. They ship it to you now and you will have it. If the grid went down tomorrow, are you ready? How long could you go with the water that you got stocked at your house? I tell everybody 10 to 15 cases of water minimum. That will give a family of 5 water to last at least 5 to 6 weeks.
Wait, I've got 4 cases in my house. I thought that's gonna last us.
No.
Oh, okay. It's not 4 cases.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you by yourself, you'll burn through 1 case a week easily by yourself.
That's right.
But 10 to 15 cases of water. And at the end of that 6 weeks, you can revisit the situation and say, is it feasible for me to remain or should I leave? I mean, you can go on Amazon and get a rain diverter for your gutter. I install it like I did on mine. Get your 55-gallon water drum, put a spigot on it, and you can harvest rainwater to keep your toilets running. You have water to bathe with. You can boil it, drink it, treat it, store it back. You have to start asking yourself, what if, and start focusing on it. I mean, do you have a sewing kit that you can make repairs on your clothes, or do every time you get a tear or anytime your gym shoes get dirty, you just go out and buy new? I mean, you got to be looking hard into the situation because the situation could develop to where now you were stretching a dollar, but now you got to stretch a penny. You got to stretch a dime. How are you going to do that? I mean, you can go to the food pantries and get free food. You get $50 to $100 worth of food. And that helps you to save money that you can put toward other resources that you need. But in priority, water's going to be first, food's going to be second, meds are going to be third. Then you go to alternative energy, solar, dual fuel generator runs off of gas and propane. Then you're going to get into how you're going to cook with your stove being down. You're going to need at least 2 alternative ways to cook. You can have a grill as your backup, which means stocking lighter fluid and charcoal. And you can get you a camping stove that runs off of propane. Those
right.
are going to run you about $50 at Walmart.
And they're awesome. They're small too.
Right.
It's not something huge.
Right. You got two burners. Then you're going to have security because I say 4 weeks in, when people are running out of stuff, they're going to want you to help them out. And they're going to ask nicely the first 2 times. After that, they're going to bring a group of people to your place because you got resources and you ain't sharing with nobody. Do you have antibiotics on hand? Antibiotics have saved my life probably 1,000 times in my lifetime. Someone gets a cut, someone takes a fall and rips their arm open and it becomes infected. Are you just going to watch them die a slow death? You can go to Jace Medical online and you can purchase your Jace case for about $250 and they will send you antibiotics to your house. They got a long shelf life.
Wow.
And the only problem with antibiotics is that they don't become poisonous over time like some medicines. They just lose potency. So you can put one back 6, 7, 8 years. And even at 10 years, you might have to take 2 pills instead of 1 because you start to lose the potency. But there's many avenues out there. How are you going to get information if the grid goes down? Do you have a wind-up radio? Do you have a solar radio? How are you going to get information if the government's broadcasting it? Communications is going to be taken down. Your cell phones aren't going to be working no more. Most cell phone towers only have a 72-hour backup. And then after that, it's down. Within 7 to 8 days, water will stop coming to your house. What are you going to do when water stops coming?
Is that water pressure you're talking about? Water
Yes, I am.
pressure?
Yes. And let's say a fire breaks out in your house. How are you going to put it out with no water pressure? Do you have fire extinguishers on hand? I mean, when you make that list up, you got to ask it's got to be the worst case scenario. If you're prepared for the worst and you can deal with the worst, the good will take care of itself. I'll stop there from right now. I don't want to flood people with too much information.
Well, we're already at $1.05 right now, so we're gonna turn it down anyway. I think the takeaway from this show tonight is energy is something that most people really don't think about until it starts affecting everything
and take for granted, for sure.
Right. And that's where we're at right now. And this isn't just about gas prices. It's about a system that's under pressure, a system where one conflict, one disruption, one choke point can ripple across the entire world. And the truth is, you don't control global events, but we do control how prepared we are when something like this hits. Because the people who struggle the most at times like this are the ones who thought that something like this would reach them. And if you don't believe that, you think about what Cuba's going through right now, that they've been going through for the past 4 months. No gas, no lights.
For 9 million to 11 million Cubans,
Right.
by the way. We're not talking like a couple thousand. Right.
Right. Okay. Now think about it. How many of them 9, 11 million people was actually prepared for something like that to go on? And I can pretty much tell you to probably be on a percentage wise, it probably won't hit 9%, guaranteed. You know what I mean? This is stuff that you really need to think about. You need to put some things in order. Now, we're not saying to go out and buy everything that you can buy. I'm not saying that. But what you do need to do, though, is do your due diligence, put you some things together to where you have it. You know what I mean? Because if you may or may not have noticed, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about for the past year, it's actually then came to fruition.
Yes.
Which should tell you may want to start listening to what we're telling you. Like
so
I said,
AB, it's been like how long? 2 years, almost. Well, or just above 2 years. We've been saying this, and historically, every one of these. I mean, how many times have we been actually wrong?
None of them.
You know what I mean? It's a zip.
None of them.
So
None of them.
yeah, listen, man, we're paying attention. We got 3 incredible minds right here, you know, and I hope that everybody takes all of that in, because it's not just 1 layer or 2 layer or even 3 layers. It's an onion, man. There's so many things that go involved in the aspect of what happens on a geographical level, geopolitics, what you were saying, AB. Same thing about the whole aspect of, like, we can't control the world. I mean, we like to think we do, and we do to an extent, sure. I'm not going to belittle our military because it is the number 1 in the world. But I still am going to say that knowing that fact, you can't rule the world and control every little thing, every little trading route, this is proof. This is proof. So anyways.
No, I think the bottom line with that would be, number 1, pay attention. 2, listen to everything they say. Listen to every single thing that they say.
Take it in.
But pay attention to what they're not saying.
That's correct. And what they're doing.
There you go. But like I said, I would thank everybody for coming out. Like always, hit that like button. Those of you on my side, go on Mike's side. Mike's side, come on this side, hit it. If you're not subscribed on Mike's side, go over there and subscribe. Mike's side, come over here, subscribe to the Diamond Effect. This is all one family here, so we all should be on each other's. So you hit the QR code up there. It'll take you to Diamond Effect podcast.com. A lot of stuff that we have on there. We also have a new website, diamondeffectentertainment.com, has a lot of stuff on there as well. And you can also go on there and watch the live broadcast as well. If something just happens to go on to where we can't go on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, we got a backup that we can go live right off of the website itself. So like I said, thank you all once again. Next week we'll come back with something else, and I turn it over to you, Mike.
Well, listen, when it comes to all of these things, just like these guys were talking about, it's all about preparedness and what we can do. We can't control what happens outside of just us. So the best thing, as Aaron says, is take it apart, and AB as well. Take it upon yourself to take your own responsibility for your own life. You know, not dependent on another person, an organization, or government. You know what I mean? I think that it's at this point you got to take it into your own hands to make sure that your survival is your responsibility. You know, and I really appreciate Aaron, because he's the guy that got me involved, as well as AB as well, that got me involved in the aspect of preparedness, right? And I've always had this kind of mindset, but like actually getting ahead of it, not just having the mindset, you got to execute, right? I think a lot of people lack on execution. It's a great thought, but when it's come to time to do it, a lot of people lack on the execution. And so, I mean, I don't know if you still do it, Aaron, but I actually bought my bug out bag essentially from Aaron and shipped it to me, had it prepared, ready to go, all the things, man. Like, those are things not just on a financial level. I'm talking on a survival level, for real. It's not just finances. Yes, finances are great. If you have some gold and silver that you've got stashed away, you're set on a financial level. But can you survive when the lights go out? Can you survive when an EMP hits? You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that we got to think about. So I'm very appreciative of these two gentlemen on this panel this evening, giving their expertise and everything that they've got on these topics. I'm always honored to be a part of them. So anyways, just like AB said, if you're on my side, go over to Archbishop's side on the Diamond Effect. Go subscribe. I'm going to hit a link for you guys. Make sure you guys go subscribe over there. And we've got all the other links as well. So anyways, appreciate it. Aaron, go ahead.
Okay, I want people to understand we are in a survival situation right now, economically, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So don't underestimate this situation. Look at the people during the Great Depression. The government wasn't rushing to save them. Everybody survived individually. We can't control what comes our way, but we can control how we react to it. And if we're ready for a situation, we thrive through that situation. We don't suffer. Those people who made it through the Great Depression did so because they knew how to do things. They learned how to can. They learned how to butcher their own things. Self-reliance was the key to their survival. And even today, in a technological age, self-reliance is still the key. When all technology fails, it's going to come down to just you and your family. And then you also have to build community. Have friends that are mechanics, electricians, plumbers, people that can tailor clothes for you. So you got to build that community. I told my car mechanic that works on my car, I said, man, you're a part of my community, survival community, whether you know it or not. He laughed. But here recently, with this war going on and things, he started asking me questions. I said, don't worry about it. We're going to barter and trade back and forth.
That's right.
So as the old saying goes, it's not the strong that will survive. It's not the smartest that survive. It's the people who can adapt to change the quickest. And you can adapt to change because you're prepared. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you have the equipment. I'll stop there.
So listen, when it comes to all of these things, my dad taught me something very valuable that I still hold to this day, is that I learned something very early, that your network is your net worth. And I'll leave you guys with that. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll be here in the next 7 days. God bless everyone. We'll see you guys very soon. Much love.